Trilogy is 100% firm built around build to rent projects. So they started with kind of only development. And now they're also buying existing product like we did in Noda, kind of forward purchases. And they're also now doing lot development work. So they're 100% focused on this asset class, which is really important to us because we've always wanted to invest with developers that are, I don't think we're supposed to say best in class, but they're the best of what they do in their product type. So that's why we really, again, two projects we've already invested in. We see how they work. We see their cadence. Jill and I were just in Alpharetta, Georgia, where their headquarters are, meeting with their entire team. Their asset manager, Gina, is awesome. And the whole team has been great to work with, which is why, we discussed, let's see, do we do one more asset as a single asset or do we build a fund around it? And it was really important for us to have three projects that, as I mentioned before, were shovel ready. We wanted to show investors that we do not have to go through an entitlement permit process for these projects. These three sites, two are owned. One will be owned by the end of the year or in January, but they're ready to go vertical, right away.
And they're located in Decatur, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, and Huntsville, Alabama. I do want to save maybe like 10 minutes or so for some live Q&A. We've already got a few questions coming in. So if we can just spend just a few minutes on each one of these different properties, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. So I'll say a few words and I'll pass it over to Leo. You can or Jill, you can add in if you'd like. But I think one really great thing about this portfolio of assets is they're all very close to our headquarters in Alpharetta. So Decatur is about a 30-minute drive. It's about 20 minutes to downtown. It sits right on the east side of Atlanta, within the perimeter. This is going to be 45 townhomes in a very cool developing area. A lot of drivers here, high incomes especially for opportunity zones. A lot of drivers, but really the main driver just being its proximity to Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, the airport, and all major parts of Atlanta. So very excited about this one. This is going to be a fantastic smaller project.
Yeah, I'll just add Decatur. I knew nothing about Decatur. Jill, maybe you did, but when we went to the project, but learning about Decatur, it's a very high barrier of entry market, very hard to find land. I think they had to assemble several homes to get enough property for this development. So there's very little competition in BTR. Delta's got their hub in Atlanta, and I understand a lot of their employees live in and around this area because of the proximity to the freeways. So a lot of people we did diligence with know Decatur and know how much need housing is in this market. So as Mike said, this will be the first one to break ground, likely first of the year. Smaller project, but we think it can get built at least very quickly.
Okay.
Want to go to the next project, Jimmy?
Yeah, perfect. Next one here in Augusta.
Yeah, so we call this Bayvale Townhomes. This is 245 workforce townhome units located right in the city of Augusta. This can be done in two phases. So I think Leo touched on earlier. So this part of the great optionality of doing BTRs is phase one, about 120 units, and phase two, about 125 units. Augusta is, everyone knows Augusta from the Masters. So this is about 15 minutes from that beautiful golf course. But the real driver here is really two things: healthcare, with several hospitals located right around the site, and Fort Gordon, which is one of the largest bases across the Southeast. One other great thing about Augusta is that it's certain markets in the Southeast have been overbuilt. Augusta is not one of those. So a huge need for this kind of workforce, lower cost, lower rent housing in this area. So we think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad. Go ahead, Jill. Sorry.
This was a deal that, being on the East Coast still, I wasn't familiar with the Augusta market, and it's one of these sites that we, we've toured all these sites, we've walked all these sites, we've been by the comps, and it's really, I would describe it as like an infill site. in a growing community of Augusta that's very proximate to retail amenities. And so we were really sold once we got out toward the site and really saw what was there on the ground.
And as Mike said, I really like the fact that this is kind of that workforce, more affordable level. We've done a lot of workforce housing, multifamily projects in our portfolios, which a lot of that is the spirit of the OZs, is providing more affordable housing to underserved markets. And I would consider this one of them. So you can build a little bit cheaper, rents are going to be lower. So we like that a lot.
Right, so this third project, Huntsville, Alabama. What can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So Grant Park, like you said, is located in Huntsville, which is in Alabama. 172 units, Class A, high finishes, located within a 5 to 10 minute drive of the main area of downtown Huntsville. The amazing thing about Huntsville is that it has some of the highest average incomes of any of the southeastern cities, and I think the average income in this area is about 140,000. That's because they have all of these kind of major defense companies hiring many engineers like Lockheed Martin, GE, Polaris, NASA, etc. Just a tremendous workforce base. Huntsville is constantly hiring too, so there's more jobs open, people moving there. So we believe that this kind of townhome product just fits this kind of millennial 32 to 35-year-old renter with a family moving to Huntsville that's got a great new job. So very excited about this project as well. You, Joe?
Yeah, and I think this project, it's interesting. I've been involved in two investments, and then this would be the third in Huntsville. And I went to Huntsville during COVID to check out the market. And, I left Washington, D.C., everybody was masked up, no commentary on masks, but, I landed in Huntsville, and while probably most of the American economy was shut down, Huntsville was wide open, and there was restaurants, and the bars were open. I was like, well, so the economy's turned on, and it didn't turn off during COVID, and so I think that's I think what you'll see in a reflection of the regional domestic product. And the other thing that's interesting is with the Redstone Arsenal, and also you have the research park there, and it's the second largest research park in the country, second only to the Triangle Research Park in Raleigh, Durham. And so this is just a massive area that attracts. You have the Blue. Was it Blue Origin? So you have the rocket company, you have the defense there, you have all these research companies there, and this just like minutes drive all of these locations. So it's just high quality of living, high wages, and in great climates. So I was just really blown away, and have had several subsequent tours of this location, and just been impressed with the Huntsville market.
Two quick points. I know we got to get to questions, or should get to questions, Jimmy. Two quick points on Huntsville. One is this site, we are purchasing finished lots from the landowner and the land developer, which is a great thing because that de-risks a lot of the risk in BTR is in the horizontal work, is the site work. And especially in Huntsville, where there's a lot of rock you're dealing with, which this landowner has found, and it's costing him more to deliver these to us, but we have a fixed price. So that's a huge benefit. We can also build this in 2 phases if we choose to. And then the last thing I'll just say about just in general of the markets, really more I'll say Augusta, or I think I'll talk about Huntsville, but also Charlotte, where our other project is, Anoda. The multifamily, landscape, as most of you probably know, is very overbuilt. There's been a lot of development that's come up over the last 2 to 3 years, more that's going now, but we think that's slowed to a halt. If we had a multifamily project in Charlotte today, we probably wouldn't move ahead. If there was a multifamily project in Huntsville, we may not move ahead. There's a lot of supply, but build to rent, limited supply, lower supply, less competition. So we're still, again, we love the markets, but we always watch supply, right? So we're very careful to not overcommit into a market where there's a lot of other projects under construction.